Welcome our SVM 12th students. Today we are going to see about the Nicol prism. This Nicol prism is used as a polarizer and also act as a analyzer. This was designed by William Nicol. William Nicol is designed. So it is used as a polarizer as well as the analyzer. It is used as a polarizer and analyzer. Polarizer and analyzer. So that is from our ordinary light, it produces a plane polarized light, and also whether that given light is polarized or not also can be analyzed. That's why this Nicol prism is going to act as a polarizer and analyzer. What principle there he used, William Nicol used means double refraction principle. What principle is used? Double refraction. Double refraction is used as a principle. The most common Nicol prism is made up of calcite crystal. That crystal has certain structure as like the parallelogram. See, we have that Nicol prism, and that Nicol prism has certain length and breadth. There we have some ratios. That diagram we are going to take on now. That Nicol prism so is a length and it is a breadth, and the corners are going to named as A, B and C, D. This crystal is a calcite crystal. Calcite crystal. Their length and breadth ratio. Length and breadth ratio is 3:1. That is, length is 3 times of that breadth that calcite crystal is taken. Then we have a face angles. That 4 corners in that face angles we are going to mention. That the face angles are lower 72 degree and upper that angle is 108 degree. Totally 180 degree. In that lower portion has a 72 degree and upper has a 108 degree. 108 degree. There we have a diagonal AB. Along the diagonal, first that crystal is going to cut into two pieces. But that will not taken in a separately. One of the major purpose, they used to cut that calcite crystal along its diagonal. But that cutted parts are going to once again combined with one of that paste called as a Canada balsam cement. Canada balsam cement is going to act as a paste to attach the divided parts. There we are placing is the Canada balsam. Okay, Canada balsam, it is a cement-like material used as a paste to fix that, join that two parts. The purpose is not that there we want to make a major principle total internal reflections. That purpose we are using a Canada balsam to combine that divided two parts. That is the construction of our Nicol prism. Nicol prism is made up of a calcite crystal. Their length and breadth ratios are 3:1. That is nothing but length is 3 times of its breadth, and there we have a phase angle of that crystal 72 degree and 108 degree. This crystal is going to cut into two pieces along its diagonal. That cutted parts are once again to combined to use a Canada balsam cement. Canada balsam cement. That cement is used like a paste. That is the construction of our Nicol prism. Then we are going to see about the working of Nicol prism. So for it is used to produce plane polarized light. For that purpose, we generate a unpolarized light from one of that monochromatic source. Which one is going to take one of the monochromatic source means sodium vapor lamp. Sodium vapor lamp. Which color light it can be produced means yellow color light is produced. That yellow color light produced from a sodium vapor lamp is used as a source, and from it one of that yellow ray is produced. That yellow ray is not a plane polarized, it is unpolarized light. Unpolarized light means vibrations in all perpendicular directions. If a ray comes from that source to that direction, all perpendicular direction, it has a vibrations. That ray is going to take. That ray is a unpolarized light. It has a vibration in all perpendicular directions. That ray is going to fall on that one of the phase. That phase name is called as AC. On that AC phase, this unpolarized light is going to incident. If you have a 2 or 3 rays, that is 2 or 3 wavelength rays, if it is traveled in air medium, that are traveled in a same velocity in air medium. That's why we consider single ray. So anyhow, we are taken that one of that unpolarized ray, that unpolarized light ray is going to fall on that one of the face of that Nicol prism. That face is named as is AC. After that, touching that face, that ray is going to make a refraction. Not a single refraction, that makes a double refraction. That makes a double refraction. That double refracted rays we are going to tackle. One is this, another is this. This ray is taken as a ordinary ray. This ray is named as the extraordinary ray. What is the difference between ordinary ray and extraordinary ray means? Ordinary ray obeys the laws of refraction, but extraordinary ray does not obey the laws of refraction. So there we have a Snell's law, mu is equal to sin I by sin R. That mu is equal to sin I by sin R is a constant. The refractive index for that ray is constant for a given material medium. So that is for that ordinary ray only. But for that extraordinary ray, it does not obey that laws of refraction, means mu is not constant. That is, sin I by sin R is not constant in all directions. That has different velocities in different directions. So if different velocities in different directions means in a different direction, extraordinary ray has different refractive indices. So that's why this extraordinary ray is not combined with that ordinary ray, moves in a different direction, and once again it passes that catapulsum and emerged out and deviated in a certain direction. But that ordinary ray already splitted in its space. That a single unpolarized light is going to incident on a phase AC. At the point of incident itself, two rays are splitted. One is that extraordinary ray, another one is the ordinary ray, which obeys that laws of refraction. But that ordinary ray is traveling towards that catapulsum cement. That ordinary ray has a certain refractive index. Ordinary ray refractive index is index is equal to 1.658. We are saying ordinary ray refractive index is 1.658. That ordinary ray travel towards that catapulsum, which has refractive index, that is 1.523. What is the meaning of this? Means that a calcite crystal is a denser, catapulsum is a rarer. When that ordinary ray, which obeys the laws of refraction, moves from denser medium to rarer medium, that is one of the condition for making a total internal reflection. Another condition we require angle of incidence from the denser medium to rarer medium. Angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle. Then only the incident ray makes totally internally reflected. Like that, this ordinary ray moves from calcite material to the catapulsum. That is, from a denser medium to the rarer medium. At that time, to the interface of these two medium, incident, there we have an angle of incidence. That angle of incidence we consider that is equal to I, but that I value is greater than that critical angle, I suffix C. So what may be happen? That ordinary ray does not passes through that catapulsum, catapulsum. That will makes totally internally reflected in its crystal. But that extraordinary ray does not obey that laws of refraction. That's why it will not bend what direction it is enter in a crystal, calcite crystal, that the same direction it straightly moves and emerged out, but that emerged ray is bend in a certain direction. This bending direction is not constant. If you rotate the crystal, the direction of the bending is differ. Because reason is in a different direction for that extraordinary ray having a different velocities as well as the different refractive index. That's why that emerged out rays are deviated from its path. But what is that gain means that emerged extraordinary ray is plane polarized light which has a vibration in one direction. If you put that line with a double arrow means along that plane of the paper only we have a vibrations. Along the plane of the paper only we have a vibration. But what about that ordinary ray? That also plane polarized. But in that ordinary ray we have a vibrations which is perpendicular to that plane of that paper. But what we are doing means we need a one direction vibration alone. We can control that ordinary ray, but we cannot control that extraordinary ray. Even though you cannot control that extraordinary ray, it is a plane polarized. So that's why by using a Nicol prism, we are producing a plane polarized light. Which one is emerged out means extraordinary ray is plane polarized and which has only one direction vibrations which are to that plane of that paper only. Plane of the paper only. That is a completely plane polarized light, or we can say plane polarized light. That plane polarized light can be produced by the Nicol prism and also used for whether that given light is plane polarized light or not. Identification purpose also this Nicol prism is used. So there we have some advantages and drawbacks for that Nicol prism. What are the advantages means? This Nicol prism is used in many instruments, optical instruments, to produce a plane polarized light and to analyze the light which is enters in the instrument. That's why we have here two uses. Uses of Nicol prism. Used to produced and plane polarized light. Plane polarized light. Second use is used as a analyzer to analyze. Used as an analyzer to analyze the given light is plane polarized or not. That purpose is used in many optical devices. So anyhow, this Nicol prism has certain drawbacks. What drawbacks means? We have a certain size of calcite crystal. This larger size of the calcite crystal with flawless is exist very rarely. That is manufactured rarely only. That's why its cost is very high. Its cost is very high. Due to that larger in size and it want to get flawless, it is rarely manufactured like that. That's why its cost is more. Next one is what drawback for that? Second drawback means The emergent light is extraordinary ray which is a plane polarized. So even though emergent light is a plane polarized light, not comes out in a certain directions. It is deviated in a different directions. We cannot mention in this direction only that the emergent ray is comes out. So that's why that is also one of that drawback. And another one is through that calcite crystal, if you view the field which produce the plane polarized light, not a larger region, it is a very smaller region, field view we have. That is also one of that drawback for that nickel prism. And if you rotate that nickel prism in different directions, it moves in a different velocities with a different refractive index. Due to this reason, all over the region it produced light is not uniformly plane polarized. Not uniformly plane polarized light. That some portion we have perfectly plane polarized light. In some other direction, so partially plane polarized light. So that's why these are the drawbacks listed. That is taken as a drawbacks. One is cost is high. Why the cost is high? High cost. This larger size with a flawless crystal rarely manufactured, rarely available in our market. That's why cost is high. Next one is emergent ray. It is a plane polarized light, slightly deviated in certain directions. Emergent plane polarized light is deviated or bend in some directions. Okay. Yeah, the third point is field of view. The effective field of view is very small. Okay. And next one is fourth point. That what is it given in our fourth point means the plane polarized light is not uniform. Plane polarized light is emerged out with not uniform. These are that drawbacks we have. We have two uses and four drawbacks. Two uses is which produces the plane polarized light, one use, and another one is to act as a analyzer to analyze whether that given light is plane polarized light or not. Next we have here four drawbacks. The first one is the cost is high. High cost we have because of we cannot produce a such greater size of that calcite crystal. And the second drawback is emergent plane polarized light is bent in some directions, not in a definite direction, not in a definite directions. Then third drawback is effective field of view is very small. View is very small. We cannot view in larger region. Fourth point is plane polarized light emerged out in this crystal is not uniform in all directions. Uniform in all directions. That is the drawbacks. Once again listen. Nickel crystal is a manufactured and first designed by William Nicol. That Nicol prism used a principle, double refraction principle. What principle is used? Double refraction principle used. What purpose that Nicol prism is used means to produce and analyze the plane polarized light. In our construction of that Nicol prism, length and breadth ratios are 3:1. That is, the meaning is length is 3 times of its breadth. The material most common Nicol prism is made up of calcite. There we have a phase angles 72 degree and 108 degree. Along its diagonal, the calcite crystal Nicol prism is cut into 2 pieces and once again joined by using a Canada balsam cement. That Canada balsam cement is a transparent material and act as a paste to join these two, not act as a polarizer as well as the analyzer. This Canada balsam is only the transparent cement. It can be transmit both ordinary ray and extraordinary ray. But here we are transmit only the extraordinary ray only. Ordinary ray is totally internally reflected. But what reason the ordinary ray is totally internally reflected means at the time of that ordinary ray moves from calcite crystal to the Canada balsam, we consider that ordinary ray is moves from denser medium to rarer medium. We know that calcite crystal refractive index for the ordinary ray is 1.65 A. For ordinary ray and as well as for the extraordinary ray, refractive index for the Canada balsam is 1.523. You compare these two refractive index, Canada balsam has a lesser refractive index as compared to the calcite crystal refractive index. That's why we are saying ordinary ray, when it moves from denser to rarer medium, as well as at the interface of the two medium, angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle. Then it is the condition for making total internal reflection. Condition for total internal reflection. That's why that ordinary ray makes totally internally reflected. That also plane polarized light, which has the vibrations perpendicular to the plane of the paper. But extraordinary ray is emerged out, which is a plane polarized light and has that vibrations which is parallel to the plane of the paper, and we produce that plane polarized light. Okay, this is the explanation for Nicol prism, and we have some drawbacks and uses. We have completed. You go through the book, and thank you for all of our students. Now we are going to see about polarization by scattering. First of all, we want to know about that. What is scattering? When light rays falls on a substance, at any substance, if it is taken that substance in a microscopic level or in a macroscopic level, all that substance, light which is falls on it can be absorbed and re-emitted in all directions. Not only that incident direction re-emitted, it can be re-emitted in all directions. That is nothing but a scattering. In that scattering method, we are going to produce a plane polarized light, where we can produce easily that plane polarized light means light from our sun is a visible light. That visible light is going to enter in that upper layer of that atmosphere. That upper layer atmospheric molecules can be absorb this sunlight and re-emitted not only in the incident direction, emitted in all directions. In that light rays which are re-emitted in one particular directions, which makes 90 degree with that incident direction, that will produce as a completely plane polarized light. For that, we are going to explain how it is means. For identify that plane polarized light in that vertical downward direction is, we are going to take a Polaroid. Polaroid is used as a analyzer now. We are going to take. So as like that, one of that rectangular Polaroid is going to taken. That Polaroid is placed vertically above of us. At the time we are viewing that sky which is completely blue light. If that Polaroid is rotated, if you rotate the Polaroid in a different direction, you can get a different intensity of plane polarized light. Different intensity of a plane polarized light. Because of that plane polarized light alone, if you rotate that Polaroid, we will get that intensity is different. So for that, how it makes, we can find. So suppose first we are going to take one of that sunlight ray. Sunlight ray is a unpolarized light. How we can mention that unpolarized light means to the direction of the propagation, in all perpendicular direction we have a vibrations. This unpolarized light is going to fall on that one of that air molecule. Example, O2 also we can take on, or N2, because in our atmosphere major percentage is nitrogen molecule. 78% we have a nitrogen molecule. Suppose this unpolarized light is going to fall on that one of that nitrogen molecule. Here we consider N2 molecule. N2, one of that molecule. This unpolarized light is going to fall on that N2 molecule which is in our atmosphere. If that unpolarized light is incident on the N2 molecule means is one of the electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic wave has electric vector and magnetic vector. Now light vector is nothing but a electric vector. We call electric vector is called as a light vector. That vector is going to, that is electric field is going to fall on this molecule. On which particle it is interacted means on that electron it is interacted. This energy is interacted with that electron means electrons makes vibration in a two perpendicular directions. One is along the incident direction that makes the vibrations. Another one is perpendicularly it makes the vibrations. That perpendicularly vibrations are emitted and moves in downward direction. In that emitted rays has only one direction vibration. If you view in this direction, that is incident direction to that scattered direction angle is 90 degree means there we have only one direction's vibrations. In our unpolarized light, to the direction of the propagation, all perpendicular directions we have vibrations. That's why that is called as an unpolarized light. But now that molecule, N2 molecules are absorb the light and re-emitted. In that action is electrons in that molecules are makes a vibrations. Two direction vibrations it makes. One is a perpendicular to that incident direction and another one is parallel to that incident direction, which is makes vibration perpendicular to that direction of that incident can be emit the light which has only one direction vibrations. So that's why it is called as a plane polarized light. But if you view from here, you consider here human eye. Through the human eye, if you view these rays, there we have only one direction vibrations. That's why we consider that is a plane polarized light. But in this direction, if you view, what we have means, we have that vibrations in all directions. So in the direction of that incident, that scattered light has all perpendicular directions vibrations. If that light has all perpendicular direction vibration means that is a unpolarized light. Not only we can view these two directions alone, all the directions we can view that light. If you view from here, the rays comes from that molecule which is partially plane polarized, which is a partially plane polarized. Some places polarized, some places which has not a polarized. That's why half a part is polarized, half a part is not polarized. That's why that ray is called as a partially plane polarized light. Through the human eye we are viewing this ray is partially plane polarized light. So in the incident direction we will get only that unpolarized light. Perpendicular to the incident direction on that molecule we will get that completely plane polarized light. In between that we view that not completely plane polarized, not unpolarized. We will consider partially plane polarized light. So only in this direction scattered radiations are plane polarized light. When that unpolarized light is incident on our atmospheric molecule, one of the atmospheric molecule I am taken, that is a N2 molecule. On that N2 molecule, the unpolarized light is incident means the components which are comes perpendicular to the direction of that incident has only that one direction vibration. So if any ray having a one perpendicular direction vibration means that is completely plane polarized. In all other directions, if you view straight direction, we will get unpolarized light. In between that same direction to the perpendicular directions, fully partially plane polarized light. Some places we have one direction vibrations, other places we have all perpendicular direction vibrations. That's why that is a partially plane polarized light we are seeing. So from that scattering method, scattered light has a plane polarized light only in that right angle direction to that direction of that incident. Right angle direction only we will produce that plane polarized light. So how it is produced means that the incident unpolarized light is interact with that electrons in our molecules. That electrons makes vibrations in both parallel to the incident and perpendicular. That perpendicular vibrations has emitted only that one direction vibrations. So that is a production of plane polarized light method in our scattering method. Okay, thank you for